Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay. Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Perez. Here.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, 2 p.m. Session of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We'll first hear from County Counsel Margot Raison for a report of actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This morning you met in closed session on items 61 and 62, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you, Margot. Okay, now we'll be beginning considering the consent agenda. Agendas are located on the tables near the back of the doors for anyone wishing to follow along. All items listed with the CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in its listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, I will read the consent agenda items. Starting on page 2, item 4. On page 3, items 5 and 6. And 6 is on consent. However, we have a correction for the record. Lorelei Oviatt, will you read the correction in for the record?
Thank you. Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources. We have 2 addendums which we have provided to you. These are minor changes to a mitigation measure and a comment letter from the Pacific Crest Trail Association. There are no other changes that we are recommending to the mitigations that we have provided to address these concerns. And I'd like to read a revised recommendation, and then we would ask that it remain on consent. Adopt revised section 15091 findings of fact and section 15093 statement of overriding considerations. Adopt revised mitigation measure monitoring program. Adopt resolution. Revised recommended findings and enact ordinances approving zone changes. Adopt resolutions and revised recommended findings approving conditional use permits subject to recommended conditions. Adopt resolution and revised recommended findings approving amendments to the circulation element of the Kern County General Plan. Adopt revised recommended findings approving non-summary vacations, accepting and reserving any easements for existing utilities, and direct the clerk of the board not to record the resolutions until written verification is received from the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, indicating the necessary applicable access easements have been recorded by the applicant for the benefit of all affected parcels, and approve the memorandum of understanding agreement and authorize the Board of Supervisors chairman to sign.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. With further revisions, and the item will remain on consent. Still reading the consent agenda on page 4, item 7. Page 5, items 8 through 12. Page 6, items 13 through 15. Page 7, items 16 through 20. Page 8, items 21 through 25. Page 9, items 26 through 30. Page 10, items 31 through 37. Page 11, items 38 through 44. Page 12, items 45 through 51. And page 13, items 52 through 60. And last item on page 14, item 61. Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to pull an item off of consent? Now is the time to come forward. Okay, seeing none, any members of our board?
Motion on consent.
Okay, with a motion?
Second.
Okay, motion second. Members cast your vote.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, we're on item 1 under public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on the agenda but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Thank you. Any public presentations come forward? Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Eddie Lane. Being passed out are detailed spreadsheets from the last completed fiscal year for actual expenditures in Kern County's parks. They were provided to the Parks Commissioners during the March 15 Commission meeting. This information was obtained from County Council at the request of the Sierra Club, a California Public Records Act request. Also included is a summary of funding by supervisorial district. Of note are the disparities in funding by the supervisorial district. Equal numbers of people, but services not equitably provided. Also of particular note are the disparities regarding Kern County Ranger and Parks maintenance expenditures. Again, equal numbers of people, but services not equitably provided. Virginia Avenue and Ford City parks have little ranger presence. These neighborhood parks provide doses of nature for local residents. When there was a serious vandalism in their restrooms, Kern County, without community engagement, closed them. During the March 15 Commission meeting, a commissioner suggested that porta potties be provided when public restrooms are closed. One example cited was the Adobe restroom in Section 7 of Hart Park, which is only open to organizations that rent Section 7. Indeed, last week we were told that toilet paper is provided for those who rent Section 7. This suggestion was not welcomed by county staff. Even though staff contracted for 2 porta potties, one handicapped accessible, from the Elite Company at the Kern River Campground, while a new restroom for out-of-towners is being constructed. Thanks to state law, there are porta potties available for farm workers who are today picking Kern County's oranges. But Kern County is not providing porta potties for their children in neighborhood parks or Hart Park. This is shameful. While Kern County has recently been successful in obtaining major state grants, and that's a plus, $1 million park renovations will have little lasting impact if ongoing maintenance and security are not addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Next speaker, please. If any. Oh, yeah. Mr. Alsop.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take the opportunity to try and address some of what Mr. Lane has said before he leaves. I take issue with his assertion that rangers are not in neighborhood parks. I mean, our rangers are indeed in neighborhood parks. We don't sit and predetermine the amount of hours that a ranger is going to be in a particular park for budgeting purposes at the beginning of every year. The rangers are budgeted to service the area that they cover, which includes every park in all 8,000 square miles of our county, in addition to all county facilities, buildings, properties, et cetera. It includes libraries and other things where they do regular law enforcement activity. As you know, we don't budget by supervisorial district either. While we have obviously the same population across our supervisorial districts, supervisorial districts are all different in size, scope, facilities, et cetera, the types of parks, the size and scope, utility of those parks themselves. So there's a lot. It is not it's not a cookie cutter approach. There are different things happening in different parks all the time. I can tell you, I get weekly reports from our rangers, and I've got a report in front of me from March 20th to 26th, Today is the 28th, so last week, we made one arrest at Virginia Park and issued 2 citations during that time. Just a neighborhood park in Virginia. The week before, we arrested 2 people for different things at Virginia Park. Our rangers are there. In addition to the rangers being there every day, we also touch that park every day. We go out when the bathroom was open before it was vandalized. We have a cleaning crew that shows up every day, cleans that restroom, stocks it, make sure there's toilet paper, make sure it's functioning. We have somebody that goes out and opens that restroom every morning at 8 in the morning, I believe it's 8 in the morning, whenever the park opens officially, and goes out and closes it, actually locks it up, makes sure it's secure, makes sure nobody's in there, and closes it at 10, 7 days a week. That's done. So there's a considerable amount of touches going on in our parks, particularly Virginia. I will tell you the issue with Virginia was not that the restrooms were vandalized, it was the utility room that houses all of the, the plumbing and electrical and stuff like that that runs virtually everything in our park, including the plumbing to the restrooms that are located, across the wall in a connected building. Somebody broke in, actually cut the steel bolted lock on the door with power tools, got in, and ripped out all of the plumbing to that park, or to that facility, which rendered our restrooms inoperable, and that's why they were closed. So I want to make sure that it's clear that that our parks are being patrolled by our rangers. Mr. Lane received an email from him not too long ago where he was suggesting that we spend what we spend on rangers at Hart Park in Virginia. Now, Virginia is not Hart Park. Hart Park is a completely different animal with all the campgrounds and the lake and everything going on there. And I would tell you the incidents of crime at Hart Park are way off the charts compared to Virginia. So it's just a completely different animal. And again, it is not you cannot just take a simple approach and say that every park should receive the same amount of funding for rangers or operation or maintenance. It's much more complicated than that. And I am excited of all of the investment that your board has allocated to parks throughout our county. We are really excited about getting that work done over the next couple of years. I know Supervisor Perez, there is a tremendous amount of investment that is going into your parks. Belterrace Heritage is going to be completely redone. We're getting new playground equipment, surfacing, shade, structures, other infrastructure at several other parks, including Virginia, including Casa Loma, et cetera. It goes for each and every one of you with parks in your district. So very excited about that and looking forward to getting that work done.
Thank you, Mr. Alsop. Supervisor Perez. Oh, okay, take that back. Okay. Then before I move on, any more public comment? Okay, seeing none. So restroom access is important, and Hart Park does have some bathroom closures, but that is not because we just unilaterally closed them on our own. But there's some state issues with retrofitting and structural issues because of the Adobe construction that we were forced to close them. And they've been closed, I think, to my knowledge, since 2006, I believe. My staff looked into that. Having said that, there are alternative bathrooms within distance that the public can access, because it's important that we have facilities there that are clean, safe, and accessible. So, if there was a closure here on this dais, I think the next closest restroom would be, just for comparison, just walking to our elections department. So there is a little walk, but there is access, and I'm committed to access. So thank you to the speakers that spoke. Okay, moving on to item number 3 under Planning and Natural Resources. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Supervisor Scrivener.
This would be under board member announcements or reports. On Friday, so this last week, the White House Council on Environmental Quality announced members of 2 new task forces that will provide input to inform the responsible development of carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. The task forces, which are required by the Utilizing Significant Emissions with Innovative Technologies Act, will provide recommendations to the federal government on how to ensure that carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration projects, including carbon dioxide pipelines, are permitted in an efficient manner, reflect the input and needs of a wide range of stakeholders, and deliver benefits rather than harms to local communities. And I don't have many occasion to compliment the current administration, but in this occasion I do. One of the 2 task forces, the one that will focus on permitting on non-federal lands, will include our very own Director of Planning and Natural Resources, Lorelei Oviatt. And so I want to congratulate her. Congratulate her for this appointment. It's very exciting that we have someone not only from Kern County, but someone who is from the county of Kern. There's only about 30 people nationwide appointed to this task force, and you, Ms. Oviatt, are one. And so I'd love to hear a little bit from you on this appointment and what you hope to accomplish. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I was encouraged to apply as a representative of local government by representatives of the EPA Region 9, as well as some groups that are advocating for carbon capture. Fortunately for Zoom, the majority of this is a 2-year appointment that this committee will be meeting. I would only have to go to Washington a couple of times. But they are very deficient on people with local experience in permitting renewable energy projects. And I am proud to say that with the wind and solar, including the one that we approved today, we bring in expertise on trying to figure out how to protect communities with these new kinds of industries, while still providing streamlined permitting so that things can go into construction. Behind this White House Task Force, Council on Environmental Quality, is $25 billion of funding that many of the companies here in Kern County are vying for, looking for carbon capture and other types of carbon management. So I am proud that your board has supported this appointment, and I look forward to bringing some expertise and working with people from places like Gillette, Wyoming, and Texas, and other places where I think perhaps we can bring some collaborative thought. How do you move infrastructure along safely so that that $20 billion is not just spent on paperwork? So I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Supervisor Scrivener, my deepest appreciation for this acknowledgement of our planning director, who really is the finest in the state, very likely the country. And I mean that because in this time in history, for Kern County, one of 3,069 counties in America, to be the #1 for renewable capacity at a time when energy is evolving in such a way that really impacts Kern County, right? Our bottom line, our future, our culture, our identity, all of it, right? We are under that pressure cooker. And I don't know that many folks know that Lorelei's original career began in the private sector, 27 years of having to deal with the real reality. You know what I mean, Terry. Reality, right? In the private sector, making money and moving widgets in a way that you have to be truly masterful in. So that private sector experience, your public servant's heart, of which I know to be true over 15 years of watching you now, really to have been in a position to procure $68 billion in international investment into Kern County at a time and place when Kern County has the expertise to lead the globe. So I'm glad that you're there to remind them that we're not the enemies, we're the experts, right? We're here to help, and it's just so encouraging that your type is moving into the positions of great influence, because we need you there, the country needs you there, the globe needs you there. That sounds like a little dramatic, but it's true, as we know. And I want to thank you for your devotion to Kern and these issues, and leading, as a woman, to see you up there leading so strongly and with passion and with the greatest expertise. It's really something. So hats off to you, Lorelei.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, any other member announcements or reports? Okay. Then moving on to hearings under Planning and Natural Resources Department, we have item number 3. This is a request of Terry Delamarter to appeal the decision of the Kern County Planning Commission for denial of a conditional use permit, number 12, map number 103-2, for the operation of an event venue for a maximum of 20 events per year on an approximate 7.94 acre parcel located at 5437 Adolphus. Ms. Ovia, would you like to begin the presentation for staff?
Thank you, Chairman Flores, members of the board. The applicant has indicated to me that they would like to, before I make my presentation and you take public comment, they would like to address your board on a request for continuance. I would ask that you allow them to make their request. The planning department is leaving this particular request up to your board.
Sure. Will the appellant please come forward? Mr. Delamarter?
My name is Terry Delamarter, D-E-L-A-M-A-T-E-R, and I would like to respectfully request a continuance so that we can have a full board.
Okay, thank you. Did you have more remarks, or is that the end of your request?
No.
I would ask that his other remarks be, if we are going to move forward, then he can come up and make his normal presentation. I just wanted to give him the courtesy of making his request.
Okay, thank you. You want to proceed, Ms. Oviatt?
If the,
Yeah, Chairman Flores, if I
Supervisor, I'm
could,
sorry, I didn't see the Supervisor Peters.
I just wanted to know if we have any members of the public that have come to speak on this matter today. Okay, it looks like, no, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not calling for public comment right now. I was just wanting to.
I missed his wife. I wanted to answer that question.
Okay, I was just looking for, by show of hands, how many people are in the audience. I wanted to, this is when that scared.
Okay, so you don't want my comment on that?
Not at this time, thank you. So we do have, it looks like quite a few people that are here to speak on this. Okay, ma'am, we'll get to you.
Yeah, we'll get to you.
I promise. I'm just trying to see where, this is when we had the hearing scheduled, so I just want to be respectful of everybody's time and the fact that they came down here to speak on this. So, Chairman, with your indulgence, I suggest we continue with this hearing.
Okay. Would you please proceed, Ms. Oviatt?
thank you. This matter is an appeal of the February 23rd, 2023 Planning Commission decision to deny a conditional use permit requesting the operation of an event venue that was advertised to authorize a maximum of 20 events per calendar year for up to 500 people at a single-family residence. So the site for the proposed project is located at 5437 Adolphus Avenue. Property consists of a single parcel of record totaling just under 8 acres and is directly adjacent to the Kern River. It's referred to by the project applicant as River Bluff Ranch. It has a site map code designation of 5.6, a zone classification of A1 Kern River combining corridor. And the property is intended for estate-type residential development that authorizes limited agriculture and animal uses that are intended for the property owner to exercise. This property is within, if we can have the aerial, this property is within a community created by a parcel map between 1986 and 1987 with paved private roads maintained by the residents. This private development has roads that are of a width that do not meet current standards that would apply for private road developments that you would approve today. There are no streetlights. Legal access to the property, and you can see the orange that Mr. Murphy is putting up, is provided by Adolphus Avenue via River Acres Drive and then through either Mandy Street or River Grove Street. So as you can see, you actually drive through the development in order to get to this property. There is an existing paved drive approach called Brandy Lane, but it's not a legal form of access to this property. It traverses private property of both Chevron and a private residence. Parcel contains a single-family dwelling with a detached studio, a gazebo, a pond, and solar panels servicing the property. As you can see, somewhat from this aerial, the surrounding area is rural land with small orchards, domestic farm animals, and single-family dwellings. It is a estate-type rural setting next to the Kern River with large custom homes. The property owner has had a history of conducting events on site over the past number of years. These events range from weddings to larger scale fundraising efforts for various organizations. When staff first learned about the events occurring on site, the project was informed that either a temporary event permit or a conditional use permit would be required to continue these gatherings in the future. Based on the many written statements that have been provided to you from the applicant, there appears to be a misunderstanding by the applicant of the zoning regulations covering such events, and in addition, short-term rental zoning determinations. So I want to review that. Since 1986, that year is only important because it's the year that we actually adopted the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive zoning ordinance that we use today. When the zoning ordinance was adopted, a provision in the ordinance defines a temporary event, which then requires a CUP, as a non-publicly sponsored organized event held on privately owned property involving more than 100 participants and spectators, where such a use is not otherwise permitted, or when the event would not normally be considered an accessory use as determined by the planning director. So what does that legalese mean? It means there are two key provisions that we have implemented over the last almost 40 years. There's over 100 people at the event, and the event is not considered accessory to the property use. In this case, a single-family home. So accessory means incidental and not the primary use of the property, and is also compatible, something that would normally occur. In the case of temporary events, for over 40 years, the way that this has been interpreted is the house you live in, or you rent monthly, or you rent for the year. You can host a party for a birthday. You can host a wedding. It doesn't matter if it's your family wedding, your cousin's wedding, or just a friend's wedding, or even a fundraiser for any purpose. And you can even charge money, as long as you have no more than 100 guests. But you can't not live there and rent it out as an event venue, or put up signs that say house for rent for parties. It is no longer a single-family house then. The use is not accessory to the house. It's an event venue as the primary use. That has worked for all these years. I have not changed any interpretation since 1986 or since 2010 when I took office. Kern County is a place where we have a number of regulations that have worked for us without being over-regulated. So 100 people. How that number was designed in 1986 is unknown to me, but it has worked over all these years. So a number of different ideas for configurations for an event venue from the property owner have been considered and denied, and the history is in the staff report on page 2. So let's talk about what is before your board today. The application before your board that was denied by the Planning Commission is a conditional use permit for the operation of an event venue for 20 events per year with a maximum guest list of 500 persons per event. That's what he originally came in for. He proposed, or they proposed, that all events are proposed to take place over weekends, occasional midweek from 3 in the afternoon to 10 at night, excluding time for setup. Food and alcohol services will be fully catered by licensed professionals and not prepared on site. Limited use of the existing structures. Each event would be required to provide appropriate restroom facilities, which we assume are luxury porta potties. And the project proponent has provided numerous letters, which is attached, indicating the requested events are necessary to maintain the property. Just to highlight that subsequent to receiving this application, staff confirmed the applicant was conducting events on site without land use authorization, so we did conduct a violation hearing on October 6th. As noted on page 3, at that time, the project proponent indicated they had 7 weddings scheduled from September through November of 2022, all over 100 people. A hearing was held, and the schedule events, the hearing officer determines that since these were brides and grooms and guests who unknowingly had booked this, rather than disappoint all of them and have them reschedule their weddings, we allowed those events to go forward. But we indicated that no more should occur on site. To our knowledge, no additional unauthorized events have occurred at River Bluff. The applicant has submitted a number of written statements that have all been provided to your board and now has a modified request for use of the property as an event venue. So because some of this may be confusing, if you could move it up just, there you go. So the original application was for 20 events per year, up to 500 guests per event. The modified request that they are making to your board today is maximum of 6 events per year between October and November, 150 guests per event, and that people could rent this as under your short-term rental, whether we use a platform like Airbnb or Veribo, or if we just do it themselves. Your board limits that to 6 people, technically. Under this conditional use permit, he's saying those people could have an event of 100 people. So he would not be on site. This event venue would not be used for a single-family home. Instead, it would be called an event venue that you could rent out. Under your board's direction on short-term rentals, let me remind you of that was done in 2011 before the board. This second request would require a conditional use permit. Your board directed in 2011, after a very long hearing, that while no permit will be required for short-term rentals, like we think about Airbnb, I went to rent it for a week, I want to rent it for 3 days, that no permit status is limited to renting for less than a month to 6 or fewer people at one time. So you can't, no matter how big your house is, you can't rent to 26 people under the no permits structure. Short-term rental of a single-family home for more than 6 people requires a designation as a boarding house, a bed and breakfast, or something else. And permitting those renters to host events of up to 100 people was not permitted. The idea was not to have 106 people at this, or 16 people, or 26. It was 6 or fewer people. You can rent out your house. Further, we have looked into this. We've provided to your board platforms such as Airbnb and Vrbo have actually placed a ban on such parties due to damage and other safety issues that have occurred. Airbnb now limits people to 16 in actuality because of the very real issues that have arisen for them. What was the intention of the provision? It was to permit an owner or full-time renter of a house to host personal events for under 100 people. And if there's noise or other complaints, the resident or the renter who's renting this place from month to month would be on site and accountable. A short-term renter isn't going to have those concerns. They may never come back to the neighborhood. They may never come back to Kern County. So the idea behind this, and it has worked very, very well, is that if something goes wrong at that event, that's my personal house that I'm using for this event. I'm going to be more careful and accountable if something goes wrong. That was the intention. It's worked for almost 40 years. Based on the successful implementation of this ordinance as it stands and issues that have been resolved since 2011 on short-term rentals, we are recommending no change to the actual ordinance and interpretation. Your board can include his request into any determination on granting a conditional use permit. The staff report and addendum has notified surrounding property owners within 1,000 feet of the project site. As of this writing, we have 35 comment letters. 19 letters in support, 11 from neighbors and 8 from individuals who utilize the site for events, and 13 letters and petition signatures from neighboring property owners in opposition to the request, citing concerns regarding traffic, impacts to animals, excessive noise, and neighborhood safety of people, in most cases strangers, driving through their neighborhoods of large houses in an area that does not have public access, meaning the public does not normally drive through these neighborhoods. So they would be coming for a party and driving on private roads and noticing the neighbors' houses and what kinds of security they have. The staff report also contains a letter from Chevron. If we could put up show the access that we're talking about for Chevron. Indicating that an access agreement for use of their easement, this is a private easement only for the use of Chevron. Chevron has graciously allowed the residents to drive over it, but it is not legal access. During any scheduled event has not been granted to River Bluff Ranch for any size event, and that letter is in your package. So as provided in your staff report on page 6, there's 5 findings that you have to make to authorize approval of a CUP. Proposed use is consistent with the goals and policies of the Kern County General Plan. the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan. The proposed use is consistent with the purpose of the applicable district, which is residential, estate. Proposed use is listed as a use subject to a conditional use permit, and it is. And the proposed use meets the minimum requirements of this title. Proposed use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the public or property or residents of the city. In a review of these required findings, the Planning Commission determined, and staff concurs, the project does not meet the requirements necessary to authorize approval of this request based on the location of the property within a private road subdivision without direct legal access. The event venue proposal is not suitable for the neighborhood, as this neighborhood was designed to be a quiet environment near the river for private residents. And although the area is exceptionally beautiful, it's environmentally captivating, it's understood to be desirable for parties and weddings, the unique characteristics of the site, including the lack of direct access from Round Mountain Road, creates negative impacts to surrounding properties. A large event venue, which we agree that he has now reduced it from 500 down to 150 with concentrated 10 within 8 weeks. So he's proposing to concentrate his events into October, November, which also includes the week of Thanksgiving. This event venue is a commercial business. It requires dedicated access with paved roads that do not wind through the neighborhoods, located away from sensitive receptors. This particular subdivision is problematic. They are rural, uneven, dark and narrow private roads. We do not believe that large-scale events held outdoors on the property would be compatible and neighborhood due to ongoing noise disturbance and heavy traffic. And as noted in much of the written submissions from the applicant, he continues to call this house an event venue. We are unclear whether he actually lives at this house. He may. But use of the house for an advertised event or renting the house full-time to someone therefore requires a conditional use permit. The use is not incidental to the house as a place for people to live, but the primary use is an event venue and requires a conditional use permit. In conclusion, while conditions could be formulated for hours, noise, and other concerns, the fundamental safety issue is the lack of direct legal access to the site, which would preclude driving through the neighborhood on uneven, dark, and narrow after events where alcohol is served. Without alternative legal access, which at this time staff has no evidence that any alternative legal access or that Chevron has changed their mind. In fact, we've received an email today reconfirming the email that is in your packet. Staff does not support even the reduced events proposed by the applicant. The recommendation is to deny the appeal, adopt resolution, recommend findings denying the conditional use permit request. That completes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board at this time before we move to public hearing? Okay. So, so the appellant, Mr. Dillemarter, I know you approached the board earlier and you asked for a continuance. So in terms of, we still have a public hearing to go through, but the board as a collective could entertain your request as we deliberate after the public hearing. So it's up to you if you want to give your presentation or not. I don't want to coach you, but I'm just telling you what the options are.
Okay, I just want to say that we had 20 people.
Name for the record.
What?
We need your name for the record.
Roxanne Della Mater.
Thank you.
I just want to say that we had 20 people coming to support us today. We called them all and said we wanted a continuance. So you may hear from 20 people that are complaining about us, but we have 20 people that are not here because we're asking for a continuance because we believe we deserve it to have a full board hearing. And one of the options you have is to throw it back to the Planning Commission, whatever Lorelei's thing is, and that's what we're going to ask to do. Okay. But anyway, Terry didn't even bring his paperwork. He would have to borrow somebody's paperwork. He didn't wear his hearing aids. I mean, we really think we deserve a full, especially since David Couch has been quite favorable toward us. We really would like to have a continuance on this so that we can give our full story to you all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Delamater. Okay, so moving forward with a public hearing and public comments under the hearing, are there any members of the public that would like to come and address the board? Now's the time. For or against?
My name is Maurice Etchichuri. And if I understood you correctly, I'm sorry, I was checking my phone, but you said for or against?
Yeah, anyone that has public comments for or against the
Okay,
project.
so my comments, I live in the neighborhood at 6329 Mandy Lane. I am against this project. And I'm not going to expand on the reasons why, because I thought Ms. Oviatt characterized this correctly. I don't think this is a, I'm trying, a couple words escape me, but I'm thinking that this is 40 years of administration of the zoning ordinance that has done relatively well, because in my lifetime I've spent a lot of times in this chamber supporting projects, defending applicants, defending businessmen before your board. That there's not the public benefit from this project to just throw out 40 years of good administration. And I think that is more the real issue here. I mean, we could talk about all kinds of scenarios. Sure, people, and I will tell you, it is Mr. Delamarter's property is a beautiful property. Okay, but quite frankly, you know, if you want to look at some big pictures, and I know this board is aware of Sigma and its impacts, Mr. Delamarter created kind of a subdivision out of this property to sell lots. He's never, for whatever reasons, he's never made any sales, but in the brochure that related to the sales of those lots, he advertised that water for irrigation was available from the Kern River. Well, I can tell you that through my experience, all these lots in this area are deed restricted from being able to take water from the Kern River by the Miller-Hagen Agreement, which dates back into the 1800s, the late 1800s. So, you know, to that, there's just a lot of things that are going to affect this, because we as a neighborhood are facing those same issues with water supply, et cetera.
Mr. Etchichuri, do you want to bring your comments to a close? Because
okay, thank you. But that I am opposed to the project, and I see no reason to abandon good administration of the zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Yes, my name is Irvin Pike, that's P-I-K-E, and I'm here to agree with the decision of the Kern County Planning Commission for the denial of the conditional use permit. She made the points basically very thoroughly on the area there that is not conducive for heavy traffic in the area there because of the roads. A lot of people walking and horseback riding. But one thing I was going to bring up that hadn't been brought up, Mr. Maurice Etchichuri just mentioned something regarding water. And I was very concerned, if you look at that picture there, there's a lake. That lake is filled with water. It's been filled with water, and you have almost 10 acres of lawn that's watered. All this water comes from a water table that the community out there draws from. That particular water is the same water that everybody around there comes from. There's been restrictions with the drought. I know this year we've got quite a bit of extra water, but in the past number of years, in the future years, if we have a drought, it's going to be a problem. So what's going to happen with that whole area if it ever comes to the point where they do the restrictions and say, no, you're not allowed to draw this water more excessively for one home with 10 acres of lawn and a private lake? That's all my comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Reed. I live directly across the Oh, I'm always so loud. Are you sure? My name's Alyssa Reed. I live with my husband, Jason, and 2 girls directly across the street from this property. And I think you guys probably wonder why I've taken such a passion in all of my written correspondence to you leading to today. And I hope to share with you a few videos that help to explain why the neighborhood and why my family is so passionately against these projects. That, you know, for a long time we couldn't understand how the applicant could withstand these parties weekend after weekend. They go all night long, drunk people yelling, drunk people driving through the neighborhood. And then we find out he's not there. He's not there to take responsibility for what's happening. He can tell you that the noise isn't a problem. He can tell you that the drunk people are not a problem, but he's not there to witness it. So I submitted 3 videos for today. The first video was from inside my house, but I understand that the audio for the first video would have to be too loud to then play the second video, the 2 following videos. So the 2 videos you're about to hear from outside my house, directly in front of my front door. Are we ready? My husband and I work 5 days a week. We have one, My husband and I work 5 days a week. This is our one night a week to enjoy with our family, to enjoy with our community. And this is what we suffer with every single weekend. I didn't really expect to cry, but we really are that passionate about it. I mean, he's asking for 20 events. It doesn't matter how many people you give him to limit. It doesn't matter how many parties he's limited to. He always exceeds it. He's never once reached out to ask, to inform, to let us know what was going on, to take responsibility for all the impacts of these parties.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reed.
Those
You want to bring your
videos
comments
were
to a close?
sequential in order 2 weekends in a row from this past fall, and that is what we experience weekend after weekend.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I'll give you a chance for, yeah, you can come up. Yeah. It's public comment.
First of all, I want you to know that we are always on the property. We do live there. And I guess a couple of years ago, JEH Ranch borrowed it from us and we were out of town. But that's one event. I mean, every single event we're there. We have a noise monitor. We make sure it never goes up over 65 decibels. And they call the police out, and the police say, no, it's not too loud. The noise is not too loud. I mean, this is not a drunken brawl that we have. They end at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, I just don't know where these stories are coming from. We're sitting in our own home listening to this. Okay. So I just wanted to rebut some of these things.
Sure, thank you. Next speaker, please. Okay, we may have exhausted public comment. Okay, I will, before we go back to the board, Ms. Oviatt, do you have any final comments?
Just that the planning department has extensive experience with events. The number one reason that we are recommending to the planning commission and recommending to your board is the access. Asking these neighbors that people will drive past. I admit that I got lost during the day trying to find this property. It's just a very bucolic, large lot, lots of windy roads, even with signs. And if we could put the access back up, just to be clear, there is direct access to his property, but it is not legal. It belongs to Chevron, who had a pipeline easement. There is another road that people have just driven over for whatever. If Mr. Murphy can point out this red area. And this other road, people drive over it, and, you know, this is neighborhoods, so people have allowed it. Neither one of those are recorded private access easements. They are not legal access to his property. So his intention is that when he has these parties, he has people use those access. We now have Chevron on record as saying, we are concerned for the liability. We don't want to do that. That means if Mr. Murphy can take the access road, that means that 150 people, maybe late at night after alcohol, have to drive through these neighborhoods. And the question is, you know, is that a fair request of the neighbors? And so that is why the planning department has recommended this. We can come up with noise limitations. We can come up with hours. We can come up with a whole list of conditions, and your board has considered them. This particular piece of property just has this limitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. And before I close the public hearing, I'm going to give the appellant a chance for final rebuttal or comment.
In your packet, you will see Joe Engel, our engineer, has said that our legal private access is fine for these small weddings, 150 people. We're asking for a continuance. If you won't give it, we're asking for number 2, which is to let us make another talk to this department. But we would like to have a continuance, please, so that we can let you see our side a little more clearly, that this is not a major event venue. It is a small event venue that we think can handle the neighborhood, and many, many of our neighbors would like to talk to you about it at a continuance meeting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Oviatt.
Just to clarify, I think I believe what she's speaking. So here's the situation. They live at the house. They can host 100 people or less for an on-site event. It does not mean that they can go on any venue or go to caterers and say, we have a house for rent. They can't call their house an event venue. It would have to be done by word of mouth. They can even charge money. Those are the rules. So even if your conditional use permit is denied, we're not taking that away from them. We would then be complaint driven. If there is noise, they'll call the police. They'll call the sheriff. If there is rowdiness, they would call the sheriff. If, however, somebody counts the number of cars and there are more than 100, they will call code compliance. Code compliance would go out if they're over 100. That has been the situation that we have been in with this particular venue for the last few years. They know they're supposed to be under 100. We have neighbors who come out. They've given us pictures. They've been over 100. So if your board does decide not to approve this conditional use permit, that would be my direction to them. They need to stay under 100. They need to be on site when, or managing this as everything else has been managed for 40 years. If we get complaints, then code compliance, we will be back in the same situation. So that, I just want to clarify for them. There's no other interpretation that I'm making about anything. Those are the rules.
And what is meant by option 2 on page 10?
Option 2 is if your board would like to hear conditions that we would then also share with the neighbors, then you can give us direction that you'd like this continued to a time, and we would bring back to you conditions that we would recommend that you consider to place on this. The neighbors could also see those conditions. That's option 2.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't think there's any further public comment, or maybe, because we're about to close the hearing now.
My name is Terry Delamater, Delamater. I came here today expecting a continuance because I want a full board to hear what I have to say, because I believe that the ramifications of this appeal affect the entire population of Kern County, not just the first supervisorial district. And so I really would appreciate a continuance so that we can have, I can give a full explanation. I didn't bring my paperwork because I was expecting to get this because I was told that I had the right to ask for a full board, and I'm not understanding. Is this board saying that I cannot have a continuance?
Well, the appellant can always ask for a continuance, but it's not an automatic. It's up to the board to deliberate on the power to continue rests with our board.
Okay, so I may ask this board for a continuance, and you will make a decision on that. Is that correct?
Well, I think as we deliberate, we'll decide both that and any final action. It's your request will be woven in our final discussion.
Okay.
I don't know what action the board's going to take yet. We haven't spoken yet.
Okay, but I will not be given an opportunity to give my side of the story?
Well, you were given an opportunity today during the public hearing to give your side.
So, but I can't have the people that were here that I told not to come today because I was told that I would be given a continuance.
Now, may
Sure.
I clarify?
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Adele, he made a request to the supervisor's office, which was transmitted to me, and we were clear that it was up to the board. No one told him that we were not having a hearing today. I apologize if you made that assumption, but we've done this hundreds of times with applicants. We have assured the applicant that we were having a hearing today. It appears he made an assumption that his request was being granted. But I also want to be clear, the zoning ordinance says that I am supposed to schedule a hearing and make a decision within 30 days of an appeal being filed. Because of scheduling, this has not taken place within 30 days of the Planning Commission, and so we have scheduled this hearing. None of my staff indicated to the applicant that there would be a continuance. No one called any of the people that he was bringing and told them there was a continuance. And the planning department is very, very skilled at managing those types of things. You will notice that we did not call the opposition and tell them that there was a continuance, which we would have done. So I appreciate that he misunderstood the request for a continuance, but I want to be clear with you that we told everybody there was a hearing today.
Got it.
And at the end of the day, it is your board's decision. I defer to council. The ordinance says 30 days, but your board can certainly continue this item or take action today.
There was, Margot, would you like to weigh in, Ms. Raison, on whose authority and what options the board has, just for clarification? I know what they are, but for the edification of the public.
Certainly, Supervisor Flores and board members, even in your own administrative and procedural rules for the proceedings of the Board of Supervisors, there's a section that addresses this very matter. And after the public hearing has proceeded, as it has today, with staff report and the applicant, and then public comment and some rebuttal, after you as the chairman close the public testimony phase of the hearing, then the staff clarifies or modifies its recommendation as appropriate. Then it says the board determines whether to decide the matter subject to preparation of appropriate findings, or continue the matter, in which case the following two paragraphs wouldn't apply, which is that you make the appropriate environmental determination and a motion to dispose of the action. So it is up to your board as to how to proceed.
Thank you. So I guess the way I'm hearing that is everything is at play still, including your request. And then now we'll deliberate both on the request as well as staff's recommendation. And so if there's no final comment, I'm going to close the public hearing if you're done.
Well,
but I'm not, I mean, if you are done, I'm asking, I don't know.
Let them make their decisions.
I think we still have a member of the public. So public comment, please come forward. You state your name for the record.
Hi there. My name is Scott Floyd. I live at 6116 Mandy Lane. I am their closest neighbor other than some 87-year-old elderly people that's right next to them that are almost completely deaf. So I'm closer than the house that you heard the music from. I don't want to get into how many neighbors are for them or against them. I want you to clearly think there's no access for 100 cars. They got to go all the way through that neighborhood on private road. Plain and simple, there's no sidewalks. People own those roads. The roads are on their property. We take care of those roads. So at this point, before you continuance, the last county meeting you said, don't come back to us until you have access to your property. And here we are back with no access to the property. So before we continuance, I don't see the need because 100 people are gonna have to come through those neighborhoods, and every weekend, little girls, women, everywhere riding horses up and down their streets, private roads. Kids ride tricycles in the roads. This is not Seven Oaks where we have neighbors and sidewalks. There's none of that, okay? This is private, minimum 2.5 acre lots out in the country. And at this point, I don't see why we would send a continuance when he has no access.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Floyd.
Okay, one more thing. We pay for those roads too. Every time somebody comes up and asks us for several $1,000s to fix the road, some people say no, we write our checks. Secondly, 100 people wedding is not 100 cars. Everybody doesn't come by themselves. It's like 50 cars. This is not that big a deal. And he's the one that complains about the music. You should have heard outside Sunday night, you know, his kid playing the music. He's just got it up his craw that he doesn't want this. So anyway, it's just, we're not getting completely accurate information.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and bring it back to our board for final deliberations. Supervisor Peters has the floor. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Oviatt, would you, if you have that information, would you talk a little bit more about what some of the previous violations that have happened out there? I know that it had been mentioned that there were some that had occurred at previous events. I think that there may have been some regarding the number of attendees.
So we've had a number of complaints about events that have been had on this site. The specific one that we're referring to is starting in October of 2021, they submitted a request for a temporary event for 3 separate events, and they were clearly told that they could not have events over 100 people. We explained the rules to them. And they went through that temporary event permit, which was denied, and they wanted 500 guests, 400 to 500 guests. In October of 2021, they came forward with a private campground, which is the same issue, which is access. And so we explained that they needed to submit a conditional use permit. When they submitted the conditional use permit, we were then told that they had already scheduled 7 weddings. And the issue with weddings is, for whatever reason, based on my experience all over this county, nobody has 100 people at a wedding. All of these weddings are 200 people, 250 people. So they scheduled 7 weddings, knowing that they had needed a conditional use permit, and they were all over the 100 limit. So that is the violation hearing. Once again, this is not unusual. We have this when people need to come get event permits after the fact, and we are sensitive to the fact that these are brides and grooms who have put together these weddings, so we allow them to go forward, but all 7 of those weddings were over 250 people. And even if some of them were under 100, we don't know that. All we know is there were 7 events. And we were very clear with them. You are submitting a conditional use permit. Don't schedule any events. They scheduled the 7 events. That was all we knew.
Understood. And then just because I didn't quite fully understand it, could you talk a little bit more about, I think the term you used was no permit structure for short-term rentals. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So if some of you recall, back in 2011, we had many complaints in Alta Vista in that area about short-term rentals. Short-term rentals were just starting, and the question was, should we do what other places do and require a permit, a short-term rental permit? If you're in San Luis Obispo or Santa Barbara, you have to actually, or even some cities, you have to go to the city or the county and say you're going to do these. You have to pay a fee, and they have enforcement. At that time, after a lengthy hearing, the board determined that the process that we had was working, but we were going to make sure that people understood that 6 or fewer was the number. So you could rent, you don't have to pay a fee, you're supposed to pay your franchise fee, but that's managed by, not managed by the planning department. But that you can post your house on Airbnb or Verbo for short-term rentals for 6 or fewer people, and there's no planning permit. That's the permit I'm talking about. There's no short-term rental permit required here if you're 6 or fewer.
Okay, I think I get it.
We've closed the public hearing now, ma'am.
Not at this time.
It's our it's our comments now.
So he can't even make his presentation if you don't give us.
Well, that's why at the beginning of this, I didn't encourage, but I gave you a range of options in case you still wanted to present despite the continuance request.
Okay, so if you don't give us a continuance, he cannot.
Well, at this time, today's public hearing's been closed for public comment and even for the appellant. But right now, our Board of Supervisors is deliberating. Should our board choose a continuance, yes, you can come back again at a future date and give a presentation. But now the presentations have closed for today.
Worked many hours on this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Supervisor Peters has the floor.
Thank you. One last question I had about the roads out here. So these are private roads throughout this neighborhood, I think with the exception of Round Mountain Road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And this on the map where it shows the area in red, that's on Chevron property, and there's no easement to that.
If Mr. Murphy can point, there's a Chevron easement, and then there is I'd call it a trail that's been turned into a road that goes across that homeowner's private property.
Okay.
Across the Reed's property. And neither one of those are dedicated public access, but like all rural areas, the neighbors are thoughtful and they've been driving over that. So Chevron didn't raise any objections until we sent out a hearing notice saying that he would like a conditional use permit for 400 to 500 people. Chevron then, in conversations with their lawyers, did call and say they are concerned about the liability now. When this was just a casual use, where people just drove over it, they were fine. But now there would be an official dedicated use. And certainly, if your board wishes to approve this conditional use permit, we would bring back conditions that would say that cannot be used as access.
Okay. All right, thank you, Director Oviatt. I think my last question for right now would be to the applicant. Where is parking for these events?
Please restate the question.
Where is the parking area for these events? Do people park along the street, or is there a parking lot on the property, or?
Our parcel is 8 acres. We have parking for 500 cars if we need it. I don't believe that this issue is regarding the appropriateness of our property. I don't believe it is even the validity of the neighbors' complaints. I just really think that I would love to have an opportunity to give a complete presentation, and so I would, anyway, The property is fine.
Okay, I understand, but so you're saying that for these events, people park on the property?
They park on the property on our grass area. It is a golf course, and that is our parking area. And in the information given in our conditional use permit, we outlined the area for the parking, and that met the approval with Mr. Murphy as far as our facility handling the number of cars that would be coming in, especially when we're only talking, that's our, that area. We've got 8 acres, and we actually have 2 lots, another 5 acres that's in grass that we could use if we had the parking, but we're only asking for 150 people. We had an event for 500 people out there on 2 different years for the Morningstar Fresh Food Ministry. Parking is not an issue.
Okay. When were those events? The ones for 500 for Morningstar?
And 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And CASA was like 5 years ago. It was another big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have plenty of parking. It's never been the issue of we didn't have room for it. Our 8 acres is extremely adequate for parking. I just can't imagine that it's even an issue, and that's why I so much wanted to have all the supervisors to make an on-site visit so that they could see with their own eyes that our facility was adequate.
Understood. And I mean, from my point of view, I mean, I'm sure you've put a lot of time and effort into making this a nice venue, but it looks to me like it was not necessarily gone about in the right way. So I have a lot of issues with it so far, but if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I would like to ask Mr. Delamater just to share whatever information you would like or whatever information from your presentation you have, just so we can learn more about it from your perspective.
Are we still talking about parking, or are you asking me to make a presentation?
Yes, sir. I'm asking you to share what information you have about this project in its entirety, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
So
sure.
Do you want?
We can't get our continuance?
Do you want your paperwork from one of them so you can read the whole thing? If we would rather have a continuance because you've got all the paperwork and he's going to read it. It's going to take a long time.
Well, if I'm granted a continuance, then we will get to come back at a later time and I can make a proper presentation. If this board denies my continuance, does that mean I don't get to speak?
Well, I'm asking you to share your presentation right now, Mr. Delamater. Then this public hearing has been set long before this, and as Director Oviatt was saying, this is well inside or outside already of the 30-day window that normally an appeal would have to occur in. It's already been past that time, and this hearing was set. There are members of the public here. I mean.
Well, I want an opportunity to talk to all the supervisors, to have them judge me with a full board, because I believe that my appeal has ramifications that affect all of Kern County, not just the 1st District. So I would like you to vote to give me a continuance. If you deny my continuance, then I'll do the best I can to give you what information without any notes. Is that something I can do? Or if I denied a continuance. Is my voice silenced? I get no opportunities to speak.
Okay. I just saw, oh, sorry, Director Oviatt punched it.
So I did just want to make sure, and we can get you a copy, every written statement, including the statement that you provided in the Planning Commission, all those written statements are in the staff report. We'd be glad to give you a copy of the staff report if you would like to find your written statement in there, and so you can read it to the board. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have
we don't have the choice of saying there's no continuance, so you have to do your presentation now. We would like to know if we can give it a continuance. If you say no, then we would like to make the presentation, even though there's 20 people that aren't going to be allowed to give their 2 minutes. And we really want the continuance, especially for our very own supervisor, Philip Peters, because all you've heard about is bad things from us. And you said, well, what about they didn't follow this rule or that rule? We really want to tell you the history of how we were trying to do everything to our very best ability. And if we could possibly have this continuance until David Couch, who would also like to support us, was here, then we would be able to give a presentation that we feel did us ourselves justice.
Okay, so I think, if I may intercede here, I think we have a cart before the horse type of situation here. So you don't know what you're going to do because we haven't decided on the continuance. Meanwhile, Margot Raison, and I don't want to cut you off, Supervisor Peters, but let's get to Margot Raison and then back to Supervisor Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out 2 things that might provide some further understanding for the applicants, as well as just, again, cite something from your own rules. So first of all, as your board knows, but you may not know, the Brown Act, which you operate under, requires that your board have a quorum present in order to conduct business. As your board consists of 5 members, 3 must be present. Today, you have 4 members, and as such, you are free to conduct all the business that is reflected on today's agenda. And then, again, in your administrative and procedural rules, it related to public hearings such as this matter, it says the chairman may alter the foregoing order of procedure as circumstances require. And I previously had kind of laid out what those the order of procedure was. So should your board want to determine whether to grant the request for a continuance, you could do that, and then depending on the outcome of that, either proceed today or continue it. So you could answer that question.
That might help give some clarity.
If you wanted.
Okay. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you so much, Chairman Flores. I would like to know, Director Oviatt, in your professional opinion, if is there anything that these 20 or 100 people can say at a presumed continuance in the future that would change the reality of the land use facts that are presented today?
Supervisor Perez, through the chair, I don't know. I defer to your board. My only request is that if you continue this, you continue it to not April 18th, because there are a number of planning items on April 18th, but instead you continue to April 25th. So that's my only comment. If you choose to continue, I request that you skip a board and go to April 25th. That would give, and that you also, if you continue, be clear with the applicant that we are hearing it, so that they would not communicate to anyone that we're not having the hearing. And so those would be my only 2 requests. I think that in the interest of public communication, it is always good to allow people to come to your board and give their perspectives.
Sure. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do Supervisor Peters, even though he's not punched in, he wanted to go, and then I'm going to move to Supervisor Scrivener.
Okay. Well, I would just ask that you make your presentation at this point. I'm not decided one way or another, but everybody knew that this hearing was coming. This has been going on for a long time. You guys have been in contact every day with the county. To come in at this hour and say that you canceled all of your people that were supposed to come down and
Okay.
corroborate. Excuse me.
Okay.
I'll finish in just a second. So you can't unilaterally just decide not to have a hearing. So I get there might have been some misunderstanding, but I think we need to hear the information. This is the day many people have come down, taken time out of their day to be a part of this. So I would like to hear your presentation so we can actually understand the full picture of this. But that's all I have for right now.
Okay, so she said that you can grant a continuance, and if you say no, then we would present it. But Terry gonna need to borrow some of your paperwork to read all this stuff that he's done. So this is one supervisor that would rather go on today, but I'm asking the other supervisors to please grant us the continuance. April 25th would be wonderful for us. And so, and then we would like to meet with Supervisor Peters to go over everything we'd like to tell him that we've been trying to get in touch with you for so long. I know you're getting money for Kern County. You're a very busy man, but we would like a meeting with you to show you our project and go over a lot of things with you personally.
Okay.
So can we get a vote on the continuance, and then if we're denied, then we'll pull out the paperwork and get on to it?
That works for me. How about the board?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we continue this to April 25th.
Okay. Second.
Thank you, Supervisor.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and to be clear, this will be on April 25th, regardless of
Whether you
who's
show
here,
up or not.
whether anybody's here.
Unless
Bring
you don't
whoever
have a
want the board
quorum.
to hear from, it'll be April 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your indulgence. No. Okay, we need to vote on that continuance.
I did.
Zach. Okay, so thank you, everyone, for your patience and the back and forth. And I think, we've spoken. The continuance is granted.
No, we haven't voted.
Oh, wait, sorry. We've spoken with a motion and a second. We're about to vote right now, but I'll wait. I'll save my comments for the vote. Okay. Motion and second. Members cast your vote.
The motion is approved. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Appreciate that. And so we'll hear this matter on April 25th, full board hearing, full presentations, full public comment, and then we'll determine best course of action. Thank you, everybody. Okay, moving to adjournment, having no additional items to consider, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, April 18th, 9 a.m.
Motion.
Okay, thank you. We're adjourned.
Potential of the B-58 Hustler.